Online spaces were meant to connect us, but in a world shaped by stress, uncertainty, and constant digital pressure, they often become places of conflict, toxicity, and harm. So, how do we rebuild trust online, especially in gaming communities and social platforms where emotions run high? Welcome to the PhD with Women on IT Hack the Future. My name is Jemille Navarosa, and today's positivity hack delivered will be by our guest, Dr. Ewa Antczak. Our topic for today is titled Building Trust in a Triggered World, Science Behind Safer Online Platforms. Episode 205 starts here. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on women on IT, an inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my mojo, and empathy is critical in building trust in a triggered world. Before we start our discussion, I want to take a moment to shine a spotlight on some incredible achievements from our community. Congratulations to our former PhD guest, Emily Cherkin, on an incredible, powerful moment of advocacy. Her compelling testimony before the U.S. Senate Commerce Committee brought urgent attention to the four critical crises driven by technology use that are reshaping childhood. Your work is a powerful reminder that protecting kids in digital spaces demands courageous adults, thoughtful policy, and collective action. Thank you for standing up for families, educators, and children everywhere. Join our other former Positivity Hack delivered guest, Elizabeth Bachman, CPS, for a free masterclass, How to Get Recognized, Promoted, or Hired Without Bragging, on January 30 at 8 o'clock Pacific Time and 11 o'clock Eastern Time. She will show you how to craft stories that make your impact undeniable without bragging, oversharing, or forcing yourself to be louder than everyone else. Now let's go back to our topic, building trust in triggered world, science behind safer online platforms. This week on Positivity Hack Delivered, we're joined by Dr. Ewa Antczak, award-winning behavioral scientist, author, and founder of Felixa, as she shares how science, AI, and empathy can transform toxic digital environments into safer, more trusted communities. With over 20 years of experience supporting more than 15,000 people, Dr. Eva reveals how emotion shapes online behavior, why prevention works better than punishment, and how digital spaces can teach emotional intelligence. Discover how understanding human behavior can make online platforms safer, healthier, and more connected. Please join me giving a warm welcome to Dr. Eva.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Eva. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are so glad that you are here today. So, to start, where in the world are you today?
Good morning. I'm joining you today from Canada. Thank you so much for your kind invitation.
Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. And for our first question, Dr. Eva, you spent over 20 years studying human behavior. Out of all the fields you could have chosen, what was the light bulb moment that made you realize our digital spaces were in desperate need of a behavioral scientist touch?
Oh, well, over so many years, as you mentioned before, I had the pleasure of working with many young people. But in the recent years, especially during and after the pandemic, I started seeing more and more young people who suffer because of what happens to them in these digital spaces. They sometimes complain of, feeling rejected. Sometimes they had to deal with personal attacks, insults. In some situations, it led them to significant problems, including depression and anxiety. And some of them even felt suicidal. So I thought we have to do something about it, and we have to do something about it now.
We've all seen a comment section spiral out of control. From a scientific perspective, why does it seem so much easier for us to lose our emotional filters when we are behind a screen compared face to face?
That's a very good question. And as you said, face-to-face interactions are very different than online interactions. That's what we are designed for, to meet with another person face-to-face, to read their facial expressions, gesture, to hear the tone of the voice. Basically, when we are interacting face-to-face, we have the immediate feedback from another person, how our behaviors or how our words affect them. In online spaces, however, when we are able to hide behind our screens, behind usernames, it creates this, anonymity, which in return provokes this inhibition. It means that people behind the screens, when nobody knows who you are, where you are, and you do not have this immediate feedback from another person, it creates the opportunity to treat the other person more like an object in a game rather than another human being. And that's what I hear a lot, actually, when people who admitted to be toxic or to present with some harmful behaviors online, they said, when I'm doing that, I don't really think there is another human being on the other side of the screen. I just, let my emotions go.
You talk a lot about how stress and uncertainty fuel online conflict. How does a person's offline day, like a bad day at work, directly bleed into how they treat strangers in a gaming lobby or on social media?
All right. Stress or any other big or negative emotions always have toll on us. And people sometimes think that this is okay to act on their emotions without really thinking about the consequences. What kind of impact their behaviors will have on another person, especially when we are feeling these big emotions, or we had a bad day at work, at school, or conflict with another person. Our emotional and cognitive resources are lower. It means it's much more difficult for us to manage these big emotions, to manage our behaviors. And sometimes it happens that people feel, all right, I had a bad day, now I have to do something about it. I need to vent. I need to let it go. They make this decision to enter a gaming community or any social community and basically, put these emotions on another person. I think it's much better in this kind of situation to take a deep breath and come back to the game when we are a little bit calmer. This will allow us to have a better experience overall, and everybody else as well.
Traditionally, if someone is toxic, they got blocked or banned. Why is that punishment first approach failing to actually fix the culture of online communities?
Well, I believe that punishing anyone will not bring necessarily positive outcomes. What punishment does, it fuels even more aggression. What is aggression? It's an extreme fear, right? Something bad is going to happen to me, so we have this reaction, fight, flight, or freeze response. And if we are motivated by adversity, or something bad is going to happen to you, if you're doing certain things, we take away this amazing opportunity to shape behaviors, to change behaviors, to give people tools, to give people strategies what they can do to make better choices. So again, punishment is not necessarily a good solution. It doesn't work with parenting. It doesn't work for education, and it definitely doesn't work well in online spaces. So just imagine, let's say you are going to work and somebody tells you, if you do a bad job, you're going to lose your career, or something else will happen to you, versus when somebody encourages you to do better, because then you will be promoted, rewarded, and so on and so forth. This is a very different motivation, the escape versus trying to do something because it feels good. Just, I'm going to be rewarded for making a good, positive choices.
And let's talk about Felixa. Am I right? Felixa. For someone hearing about it for the first time, how would you describe Felixa, and what is the core pain point you're solving for gaming and social platforms?
Well, it is estimated that about 5 billion people spend time online. 3 billion play video games. And research shows that 87% of them report being bullied or harassed in these online spaces. So we are talking about 4 out of 5 people who are experiencing some kind of cyberbullying and harassment. It's a huge problem. And this is a problem for the community members because it affects their mental well-being. In some situations, as I mentioned before, it can lead to anxiety, depression, or even suicide. It diminishes the overall fun from being in these digital spaces or playing a game, but it also hurts industry. Gaming companies lose a lot of revenue because people do not want to belong to these toxic communities. They warn even each other, don't play this game because this is toxic. So the gaming companies or the social media communities not only lose revenue, they also lose reputation and trust. So Felixa is a proactive behavior change platform that solves this problem, that creates digital spaces that are safe for all. It doesn't in many different stages, starting from the evaluation of the tone of the conversations, on the health of the given community. We can also track behaviors. We can draw behavioral trends to tailor specific strategies and tools that can shape more positive responses, that can shape more positive behaviors in these digital online spaces.
Most moderation tools delete bad words after they are posted. How does Felixa work differently by reading the emotional tone before the damage is done?
That's right. As you see, our approach is different than most moderation tools. First of all, Felixa is not a moderation tool. It's a behavior change platform. So we use these situations as a teaching moment. So let's imagine we are gaming, or 2 people are gaming, and Felixa listens to these conversations in the background, and the moment it is able to detect that something bad is happening, that the comment or anything that somebody wants to share with another person may potentially harm the other person, it interrupts the heat of the moment and helps the person to reflect on their actions, or the ideas, whatever they want to send to another person, and then provides more pro-social solutions. If the gamer or the community member chooses to use this more pro-social behavior, then of course we're going to reward it. Words can be different from any kind of verbal encouragements to some badges, skins, and so on in the game. The bottom line is we want to help the person to slow down their thinking in the moment, help them to reflect, to think what consequences or what impact it can have on another person, and then also provide them with some tools, with some solutions so they can behave in a better way. You see, my approach is also such that there is a small group of people who want to do bad things because they're born that way. But majority of us do bad things because we lack this moment of reflection. We do not really spend enough time thinking about, again, taking responsibility for our actions. So I think if we are able to teach people that, we can create really much safer, much more peaceful spaces.
Mhm. You mentioned that small emotional shifts can change an entire conversation. Can you give us an example of how nudging one person's tone can prevent a digital riot?
That's a that's a great question. So let's imagine we are chatting and we have different viewpoints on a certain topic. Very often, when somebody disagrees with another person, this person can take it as a threat or personal attack. So now imagine that Felixa interrupts this moment of heated exchange of information and says to the person, you know what, let's slow down. Maybe let's think what the person wanted to share with you. It's not about attacking you. She's just trying to share, their viewpoint. Of course, in the real world, Felixa is not going to send all these kind of huge messages. But what I'm trying to say, if we are able to stop in a moment and provide a little bit more respectful explanation for other person actions, we can calm down and provide more respectful, more calm, more polite response, and it will trigger in another person the same type of action. So imagine that you say something, I disagree with you, I attack you, then immediately you have the need to attack me back because we want to save our dignity, integrity, and so on. So we are really acting on our basic emotions. But if we slow down a little bit and if we try to say to ourselves things that will calm us down, we can have much better conversations, we can have much better output. And I'm not talking only about online gaming spaces. I think it is also relevant to any real-time, real-life situations.
People are often wary of AI, but you're using it for empathy. How do you teach an algorithm to understand something as complex and messy as human emotion?
I think that AI or technology is not really able to feel empathy the same way people feel empathy. Simply understand certain patterns based on a huge amount of information and data. So I think that our goal is not necessarily to teach AI how to be more empathetic, but to encourage people to design technology that provides more well-being and more other benefits for us, for humans. The algorithms nowadays are designed in a way that rewards engagement, amount of time spent watching a video, controversy, reaction, and so on and so forth. So it really encourages people to do opposite than what I said a moment ago. So it encourages people to act on their impulses and their reactions, not to really reflect. And I think that if we're able to change this algorithm, so encourage people who create technology to change the algorithm that reward and promote positive behaviors, that promote reflection, time, social cues, we can have much better outcome.
Gaming is often cited as the front lines of online toxicity. How does Felixa help a triggered gamer regulate their emotions in the heat of the moment without ruining the fun of the game?
Most people go to play games because they want to have fun. They go to connect with other people, to spend time with others. And this is amazing because we can do that sitting in front of our computers, our houses, and communicate with people around the world. So most people, go to have this amazing time online. As I mentioned before, there are few bad apples. People who go there either to intentionally ruin the fun, and sometimes simply do not know how to manage their behaviors, better. So what Felixa does after it evaluates behavioral markers, it can provide this particular person with pro-social solutions and offer them alternatives. What you can do, to reflect and to provide a response that will be polite, respectful, and will be fun for everybody around them. So we do that also through the gamification. It's not simply, sitting in front of another person who is teaching you how to do certain things, but we are using the moment to kind of build this skill set. And this is very powerful because this is almost like a hands-on activity, gamified in a moment. It doesn't feel like somebody's being punished, somebody's being taken any opportunity from having fun. It's just, encouraging and using this heated moment, as you said, as a teaching opportunity.
That's interesting. So I'll give you a second break there, Dr. Eva. If this discussion is brightening your day, I'd love it if you could like or share the stream to spread the word. And of course, the comment section is always open for your questions. I can wait to see what's your thinking. So like, share, and lots of hearts. And so we'll be back to Dr. Eva. Can digital spaces actually be classrooms for emotional intelligence? How does interacting with systems like yours help users become more self-aware in the long run?
I think digital spaces can and should become actually classrooms for emotional intelligence. As we know, more and more young people spend time online. From very early ages, children have access to technology, to different devices, and that's where they obtain information. That's where they find their authorities among influencers or other people who share their viewpoints. So I think it's a great opportunity to meet these young people where they feel most comfortable, which is directly in a video game or directly in the online community.
How do you balance the need for a safe space with the desire for open, authentic conversation? Is it possible to have both?
I think it is essential to have both. And we know amazing speakers, debaters, rhetorics, and so on, who are able to have meaningful conversations that actually lead to great innovations, to great discoveries. Very often, when we have a conversation with another person, we do not even take time, or we are not always willing to listen to what the other person has to say. We're just thinking how to defend our viewpoint, what we are going to say, without really considering the other person perspective. I think that once, and this is a skill, this is something that we definitely can learn to do, to slow down thinking, to reflect a little bit more on other people's viewpoints. Unfortunately, nowadays, when you see, let's say, Facebook or Instagram, where people can exchange information, very often they are able to meet with other people who think alike. So they're not even encouraged to exchange their own ideas or try to have a meaningful conversation or debate. You are basically meeting with everybody else who supports your viewpoint, and it creates this kind of impression that whatever you think or whatever you say is absolutely right. So we really lost this ability to learn how to disagree in a polite manner with another person. And again, I think once we're able to have different viewpoints, that is what drives progress, because hearing that other people are agreeing with you all the time, it really doesn't lead you far.
Why is a solution like Felixa more relevant right now than it was even 5 years ago? What has changed in our digital landscape?
Well, 5 years ago, toxicity was an issue. So some people would report, that something bad happened to them online. Unfortunately, toxicity problem is rising at the extreme rate. Again, we are talking about 87% of people reporting being bullied online. And unfortunately, we have this information only through self-reports. Just to add additional layer to Felixa, we are able actually to evaluate the magnitude of the situation. But what I'm trying to say, at the moment, we are dealing with a systemic issue that requires systemic solution. I think Edward Wilson said that we still have, ancient emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. In other words, we equipped people with technology that allows them to share their viewpoints and affect thousands of people within milliseconds. But unfortunately, their moral and emotional systems did not develop at the same pace. This is like building a rocket ship that is going to take you to the moon, but forgetting to put some kind of seatbelts or any other safety equipment. So I think that the change that we are observing, and it's only 5 years. This is only 5 years. And when we were dealing with pandemic, people started spending more time online. And they learned that they actually do anything they want to anyone, and there will be little or no consequences. So at the moment, I think we're dealing with extreme situation that needs to be addressed now before it gets even worse. It's not going away. People are going to spend more time on social media. People are going to spend more time online. So some kind of systemic solution is really important to be implemented as soon as possible.
If we get this right, for you, Dr. Eva, what does the online community of the future look like 5 or 10 years from now?
I think if we do it right, we don't even have to wait 5, 10, or 15 years to see significant change. People learn really fast, and people learn from each other. As I mentioned before, your reaction triggers similar reaction from another person. So now imagine if we can teach young people as early as possible, equip them with tools, equip them with the strategies, we are going to have much healthier, much better, much safer and peaceful communities online and also in real life.
We have a question from one of our viewers here. Let's see, Jane. She asked, what lessons can we get to set standards for safe and respectful online conduct?
What lessons? Could you please repeat the question? What lessons?
What lessons can we get to set standards for safe and respectful online conduct?
So first of all, I think it is very important to learn to be a little bit more self-aware, to understand what impact your actions, your words can have on another person. We need to learn tools and strategies how we can calm down in a moment and think about possible, the best, the most respectful ways we can behave towards another person.
Mhm. That's that's wonderful. So, Dr. Eva, for the builders, investors, and tech partners listening, what does Felixa need right now to scale this impact and reach the next 15,000 or 15 million people?
You're definitely right. We need this kind of reach, and we need this soon. We definitely need more funding. We're looking for investors, so we're willing to invest in our solution, in the research behind it. We're looking for tech partners, and of course, we are inviting to this conversation community members, game developers, influencers, anybody who would like to provide their input or even test our strategies, provide us with the feedback.
Besides the scaling of Felixa, are you working on any other exciting new projects or books right now that audience should keep an eye out for?
We are working on many exciting projects. We are working on several research projects to make sure our solution works in the first place. We want to make sure it is fully secure and private. At the same time, we're working on several articles, and I'm always open to any speaking opportunities. It is wonderful to travel, to meet with different people, listening to their viewpoints and engage them in conversations. So a lot of exciting things are in the horizon.
Yes. And as we are going to towards the end of our show, let me ask you, what is the number one book you can sit and think, oh, I wish I read before I started my career?
Well, before I started my career, when I was a young person, I read a lot of wonderful books through Dostoevsky, Umberto Eco, some philosophers, and so on. And it helped me a lot to gain some, let's say, moral compass. But there is one book I read later in my life, and I really regret I hadn't had the chance to read it a little bit earlier before I even started my career. And I recommend this book to be read by any young person as early as possible. This is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie. This is a very important book because it teaches you kindness and how to interact with other people in a respectful and kind way.
Let's imagine that you could meet anyone in the world for a private breakfast. Who would it be and where would you choose to meet?
Well, I have so many people I'd love to have a nice conversation with, but if you're asking about private breakfast, I think it needs to be Gordon Ramsay, maybe somewhere in in a nice place in Monaco, because I know this will be a wonderful meal with a wonderful view.
Yes, that's wonderful. And lastly, can you please give us your favorite life lesson quote?
Again, there are many of them, but the first one that comes to my head is something that Winston Churchill actually said: when you go through hell, keep going. Do not stop to admire the view. I think it is a great lesson of resilience.
And that's it from our 205 of the PhD live stream. Thank you to our guest, Dr. Ewa Antczak. To stay updated and ensure you never miss a positivity hack delivered, follow Women on IT and turn on notifications to be alerted once the video has been released. Next week, we will be with our former coming back PhD guest, Miss Tracy Brower, and we will talk about critical connections. Thank you for our fabulous team, Kim, Janella, and AJ. As always, our positivity quote comes from positive thinking only and goes look something for positive in each day, even if some days you have to look a little harder. Today is your day to hack the future, hack the positivity you want. Thank you.